could you talk a little bit about distribution specifically, and like, would you recommend using Kickstarter to like kind of build hype for a film, or are there other like better strategies that you would suggest using instead?
Distribution is a crazy animal that you start back in development, because you need a plan to go forward with. And so you've already, hopefully, in a perfect world, you've raised all your money, you've shot a movie, so you've done your pre-production, you've done your production, you're working on post-production, and now you're going and talking to all these people about distribution. Distribution is a scary animal that most people are like, you know what, I want somebody else to deal with it.
Yeah.
Because this
It's
is
a lot of
huge.
pressure. Yeah.
It's a lot of pressure, especially if you have people that have invested money in.
Right. They want to see it on all the big platforms.
They want to see, is this going to be on Amazon Prime? Is it going to be on Netflix? Is it going to be on Hulu? What are these?
In theaters, 2-week release. Ooh.
Right.
Ooh.
So the easy ones are feature films and TV shows. Feature films specifically have a pretty good structure already created. It changed a little bit with COVID, but overall they have a pretty good structure created. Basically, you figure out theatrical, and that's usually going through some sort of an aggregator that does strictly theatrical. So US theatrical, there's 2 ways to do it. People can get nitty gritty on whether there's actually just 2 ways, but really there's just 2 ways. There's 2 ways. There's 4-walling theaters, and there's traditional theatrical. Traditional theatrical is what we see through Marvel or something like the Kendricks, where they're going into 1,000 theaters nationwide. 4-walling theaters is more of what Rich Cristiano does, or who else? There's a lot of people that do it, but they tend to be much quieter releases. The whole point, in my mind, this is also backed up by a lot of people I've talked to in the digital distribution side of it, but the whole point of theatrical distribution is to literally create the fan base for your digital distribution. Because how many times did we hear about, we didn't even go to, like, I didn't go to Ford versus Ferrari, right, in theaters, but I heard about it because of the theatrical distribution.
So then you rented it online, or you bought?
I went and watched it online in some way, or Redboxed. Redbox is a weird in between. It kind of leans into digital because it's a rental. Anyway, so you figure out that. So you do Ford versus Ferrari there. I loved the movie, so I bought it on DVD.
Nice.
Okay, cool.
Amazing.
Great movie. But anyway. So, but at the same time, there's movies like 1917, right? I went and watched it in theaters because I was like, the theatrical spectacle of this is just, it's not going to be the same at home. And the next time I watched it was on an airplane.
Oh, wow.
Which was a very different experience.
Good thing you saw it in theaters first.
Yes.
And it was amazing in theaters. But the reason why I watched it again was because I saw it in theaters and I knew that it was going to be good. Because I was like, I'm not going to be able to appreciate it to its full extent on a flight from, I think it was Portland to Atlanta.
Nice.
Wow.
But anyway, the reality is, just as much as, something like Kickstarter is creating this hype for your movie, theatrical is becoming more and more that way. Because at one time, you really couldn't experience a film in its full, scope, cinema scope, literally. You literally couldn't appreciate it I know, right? That was a good one, and I didn't
That was
even
good.
intend
That was a good one.
It's really good.
So you literally couldn't appreciate it without watching it in a theater.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
And that literally revitalized what theatrical distribution was.
Mm-hmm.
Because at the time that CinemaScope came out, it literally, TV was taking over. Because we've got this new thing, TVs in people's homes.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And so they could watch everything. What's the difference between theatrical and, you know, a home viewing experience?
Mm-hmm.
Well, for a lot of people, nothing. Because they were watching Dick Van Dyke Show and they liked that.
Yeah.
And they had to watch a 3-hour movie at a theater and pay for it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, whatever it was. So now we've got this dilemma where the home viewing experience is virtually the same as the cinema viewing experience.
It honestly could even be better depending on the theater you go to.
Yeah, depending on the crowd.
Whatever what setup you have at home versus
Yeah.
And it just depends, right?
Yeah.
So, and there are people that it's nostalgic to.
Right.
But
Same.
the more and more, right. Like, I mean, I'll tell you, $1 theater, like that's what I grew up going to.
We
And
still go to dollars.
Yeah, it's great. We saw
great.
The Emperor's New Groove a few months ago.
It was so
in theaters for like $2.
It was amazing.
That was
I've seen E.T.
beautiful.
for the first time in a theater because it was like a
Nice.
That's how I watched Shrek. I watched Shrek at
Nice.
$1 theater.
Yeah.
Amazing.
For my first time, and I remember it distinctly, right?
Mhm.
They gave out Apple Jacks afterwards.
Amazing.
And I remember that distinctly, right?
Yeah.
It's a memory.
It's an experience. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And that is being lost completely.
Yeah, it's sad.
Yeah.
Because kids who were our age when I was watching Shrek, right,
Mm-hmm.
are now saying, well, why would I go and watch theaters when I can go and rent it for $4 on Disney or you know, whatever it is. You know?
Yeah. Well, and I think you kind of mentioned this earlier, but like COVID has changed this a lot. I mean, we saw that. I'm sure you're familiar with the whole Trolls 2 thing that, you know, just like blew up because it was supposed to be in theaters, but then the world shut down, and so then they released it online, and it like made way more money. And yeah, like it's very interesting how like COVID has kind of shifted that. But at the same time, like you're saying, you know, the nostalgia is very true of theaters. But like even, you know, we went and saw Endgame in theaters, and like I would not have wanted to watch that by myself for the first time. Like that was so much fun to be in an audience that literally applauded when Captain America, you know, grabs Thor's hammer and just like
spoilers.
It's been out. That's like the biggest movie. It's been out for years.
Watched it, I guess
I just spoiled that for you, that's on you.
Yeah,
it's not my fault.
It does.
But anyway. But yeah, no, I mean, it is really interesting to see how like COVID has kind of fast-tracked a lot of what you're talking about, a lot of what we've seen in the last couple of years as kind of a trend. COVID kind of fast-tracked that a little bit, so it's very interesting to see.
And like Disney's doing, like they'll have it releasing in theaters and you can just rent it online.
Yeah.
Like you could grab a couple people and have a little rent movie night online instead of going to a theater. And it's like, it feels like you're being cheated. I don't know. It feels like a cheat move. Like you shouldn't be able to rent it online at the same time that it's in theaters. That's not how it works. But yet they're changing the game. So
yeah,
I don't know.
Right, because we've got this traditional idea that's been locked in our brains for decades, literal decades, about just what it means to go and see a movie.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
That, well, if I want to see the movie when it actually comes out, it's in theaters.
Yeah.
And it's in a national release all over the place. It starts one night and it goes 2 weeks and it's all in the same theaters, all the same time. I can tell my friend in Texas to go watch it.
Right. Yeah.
I can tell my friend in Atlanta. I can tell my friend in Portland. It doesn't matter who.
Yeah.
I can tell everyone, go watch this because it's on a national release.
Yeah.
And so if you four-wall theaters, which is this smaller one-night theater showing, you go at Fathom events are technically four-wall. Fathom events are technically four-walling
Okay.
That's really, they'll try and tell you something different. That's really what they're doing.
Okay.
Yeah. It's can you explain exactly what four walling is? It like the renting a theater almost?
So basically a four-walling a theater could be a chain. So it could be multiple theaters at a night. But it's one particular group. So like Counter Column kind of did this as a movie when they got the Indiana theaters and then they got Texas theaters.
Yep.
The point was they were building a groundwork, right? A frame, people didn't know about Counter Column. And so they were trying to build credibility, which eventually got them a national release, which is what they wanted.
Which is cool. Very cool.
Right. It was really cool that there was a national release. But the reason why they did that was because they were able to four-wall.
Gotcha.
A couple of theater chains four-walled for them.
That's nice.
And it was a little... Four-walling in its purest form is you rent one theater, you invite all the people in that area, and that's it.
Yeah.
That's like its purest form.
Yeah.
But basically, you can do these smaller kind of small chain deals. That still really is four-walling, because you're not actually doing a national release of it.
Yeah. And you're doing it yourself, and you're not going through like a distribution company.
Right.
Yeah.
And so, and it's not to say that you can't make money that way.
Right.
You can.
Yeah.
You don't build quite the same credibility. You don't create the same hype.
Right.
But you also don't create the same hype if you're not doing, like, some films just aren't prepared for a national release.
Yeah.
If you're only going into 80 or 100 theaters, yes, it's more than what you're still doing a national release, but it's not the same as, when we talk about I Can Only Imagine going into, 15, I think it was 1,000 or 1,500 theaters.
Yeah.
Something like that. Well, that's very different because then I can call pretty much anybody I know, and it's going to be somewhere fairly close to them.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Versus like 100 theater release, 100 theaters, well...
That might not even be in all the states.
Right. It could be super populated.
Because there's 102 states.
No, but it might be in in Georgia, it might be in Atlanta and a couple of places in Savannah, but like it won't even touch Nebraska. It won't be in anything in Nebraska. Like,
is there anything in Nebraska?
I don't know. Probably, I don't know.
Sorry if you're listening and you're from Nebraska.
I just like picking really a random like out there state that is not like a hub of Hollywood.
Yep.
No offense, Kansas.
I don't know if that was any less offensive.
Okay, sorry. That was all right. So sorry. You can make films anywhere, folks. All right. Okay.
Come back to this podcast for weekly encouragement or discouragement.
No. What have I done?
Anyway.
Oh, this is what all right.
Yes.
Cool.
Yep. This is what you signed up for.
This is what you stepped into, Micah. We're like almost done, and now you're like, oh no. I've realized what this is.
Is it too late to back out?
She dropped the almost done bomb. That's a
well. Uh-oh.
I'm usually the person who tells. Anyway,
it's about time to distribute this podcast.
Oh. Okay.
All
right.
I get it.
I think we're gonna start a Kickstarter.
Premiere release.
So.
Okay.
I guess in closing.
No, I wasn't trying
we're
to.
Not wrapping up right this second.
No,
I'm
yeah,
kidding.
I wasn't.
I'm teasing.
Oh,
get off the stage. Boo. No. Yes, please continue your thought.
But theatrical.
Yes.
Okay?
Yes.
Theatrical.
But
so we've talked theatrical, right?
Mm-hmm.
And there's a lot of marketing and stuff that goes with theatrical.
Right. Mm-hmm.
But literally, the reason why people start with theatrical is to create the fan base, which then moves you into a what used to be a DVD
right
buying framework, and then into digital.
Mm-hmm.
It's now more into theatrical, into digital, then to DVD and subsequent product release.
Yeah,
Weird.
That's interesting. Yeah.
all this stuff. It's actually switched as well, how you do digital, because a lot of traditionally you'd go to subscription video on demand first, then the term AVOD, so advertising video on demand, was kind of how, when I was in college and stuff, was moving that direction. So it was going to be subscription, AVOD, and then TVOD. So transaction video on demand, advertising video on demand, subscription video on demand. That was the term. That was like the terms. Not anymore.
Okay.
That's just not at all how things are working right now. And they haven't worked that way for... Yes, COVID changed it. It was going that direction anyway, but it changed.
Yeah.
And the biggest change was into transactional video on demand being your greatest financial point, because people really like basically people were getting subscription fatigue. So which subscriptions am I going to have?
Yeah.
And it was great to have college roommates because you could get all of them and just tap off of everybody, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
But for a lot of people, there is this, or a family, right, where they're purchasing all of those. You can rack up money real quick. And so I'm getting Disney Plus because it has all my kids' movies.
Right.
Not because I actually like what's on Disney Plus, but because my kids like what's on Disney Plus. So I have to have Disney. I have to have Netflix because it's got Phineas and Ferb, and my oldest likes that, whatever it is.
Yeah.
And Hulu, right, started. So those were like kind of where things were at. It was a simpler time, right? When it was just Netflix and Hulu competing, and then Amazon Prime kind of stuck their oar in. But now we've got all these different things. And so people are getting...
Apple TV is big. Peacock is growing, evidently.
So Peacock is actually a AVOD platform by nature.
Okay.
So the thing with AVOD was it created this ability for you to have a lot of movies and a lot of stuff without having to pay for it. You just watched ads.
Yeah.
Okay. That's a lot of what Hulu was based on at first.
But Hulu, the funny thing is Hulu started out that way, and they still are subscription video on demand, period, because you're still paying even to watch ads.
Yeah. It's interesting.
And so it's fascinating that people still do that, because I'm like, AVOD does... Anyway.
Yeah.
The struggle with AVOD, everybody expected that to shoot up and be the primary source of income for movies.
Interesting.
I say everybody, I did, and several other people.
Yeah.
Everybody, it's my sphere of influence. I get it.
Fair enough. Yeah.
I'm sure there were plenty of people out there in the world that were like, no, that's never going to work. But AVOD was supposed to explode. Peacock was supposed to be the next greatest thing ever, as far as like Tubi, all these things. What they've created more so is a last resort solution. I say that last resort in the sense of kind of so it was supposed to replace subscription video on demand. So it was supposed to be AVOD, subscription, and then TVOD, because no one wants to rent all the time, right?
Right. Yeah.
It's a lot of money. But the thing about people's budgets and how people think is that, well, if it's a monthly reoccurring bill, it's going to rack up and they see it. Transactional video on demand is much easier to slip by. Kind of like if you have an Amazon delivery subscription that's constantly, pulling money out for whatever it is, goldfish crackers, let's say that. You're ordering goldfish crackers on a weekly basis and it's just delivering at your door. But if I go and buy a pizza, the pizza could be the same amount as like 20 bags of goldfish.
Right.
It could be.
Yeah.
But I don't think about it because it's a one-time purchase.
Right. Yeah.
And it's not reoccurring.
Yeah. All you're thinking about in the moment is, I want pizza.
Right.
Yeah.
And so that's where transactional video on demand really has shined. And so services like Vudu, I know it's not like people wouldn't think of it as popular, but as a transactional video on demand platform, Christian cinema has become actually a very interesting platform for that.
Cool.
I mean, even Amazon Prime, there's so much that you have to rent. Like there's like movies. It's like, I want to watch this movie. It's not available on anything subscription. I have to rent it on Prime or Apple TV, or I have to rent it, or it's free if you add on another subscription or something.
iTunes is another.
Okay, yeah. And Google Movies, you rent it through there. Google Play. It's been
so this transactional video on demand has actually become literally the bread and butter. That's where you make your money. For the movie.
That's interesting.
And then you make a lot of money through product sales. So as much as your movie is important, your products that go along with it are important. So your Jonah plush toys are extremely important.
Yeah, that's where all the money comes from.
Well, maybe not all the money, but a fair amount of a fair amount of money comes from chosen T-shirts.
Yeah.
That's why they can show them for free. Is because they're selling T-shirts and they're selling DVDs and they're selling devotional books and they're selling all. The Kendricks make money from their devotional books. They make money on their movies too.
One of my favorite things to point out is that's why in Marvel movies, like all the characters have a different look in each movie. It's so they can sell new toys to kids, and they look different enough that it's like, oh, I have to have this new toy even though I have the old one. It's like the different version. That's
the case in a lot of Cars, the movie Cars.
I was literally thinking of Cars. We bought the Cars 2 Cars, which is the new, the old, the go middle. Back in time. We had the teal unrusted version of Mater. But there was also the other version of Mater, and then you have like Spy Mater. It's like, whoa, all these options.
But it's a great example because Cars is literally built on the infrastructure of toys.
Toy Story.
Toy Story is the same way, though they were a little bit more overt about their.
I mean, you think of all the Lego movies. What are kids going to do after they watch Lego Batman?
Just
buy the Lego Batman.
An hour and a half long advertisement. They weren't even being subtle. It's
like buy these Legos. Go ahead. This is what you can do. Film a movie like this, kids.
Yeah. No, I mean, that's the thing. Like, I love those movies, and I think that's the crazy thing is it literally is an hour and a half long advertisement. But if you make a good movie, people don't care. Like, if it's entertaining and it's funny and I am enjoying myself watching it, like. People don't care.
How many more have they made? The first Lego movie was like a huge hit, and now they're making literally everything in Legos, and it's like, why?
I think they made a Playmobil movie too.
They did what? I
think they made a Playmobil movie.
Oh my goodness!
Yeah,
they
saw
made
an ad
the
for it.
Batman. They made we went and stinking saw Lego movie 2 in theaters, or was it Batman?
No, it was the second one.
It was ridiculous.
It was a good time.
Oh dear.
Oh man.
Oh dear.
That being said, your film effectively is its own advertisement.
Yeah.
So like,
that's really interesting.
What we get with short films, right? Because that's a big question for a lot of people. Is if I'm going to make a short film, how do I make money off of it?
Yeah.
Because Micah, I only have donor options because people basically have to give me money to produce this because I'll never make money on it.
Right.
That's not completely true. It is true if you try to think of it as a feature film. Because if you think of your movie as a feature film, you're right. You're never going to get it into theaters. You're not going to get it onto a transactional video on demand platform. No one's going to pay $4 to rent your movie. That's 8 minutes long or even 50 minutes long. Like, it's just not going to happen.
Be like your grandma.
Wow. Even that, I didn't get that on a lot of the transactional stuff because I was distributing it through Amazon back when Amazon was the cool thing to do for short films. And I was using it as a transactional video on demand platform. People were paying $1 to watch my film, which was cool.
That is
but
cool.
most of the people that were watching it were in the UK that were paying $1.
Oh, interesting.
I had no idea who those people. I have no friends. Well, I guess I have like a handful of friends in the UK.
Yeah.
Huh.
But I was getting like 30 minutes viewed a month or something on a 2.5-minute short film from the UK.
Wow.
And they were paying transactionally.
Weird. But those weren't
this
your fan base, quote unquote, what you were wanting to build.
They were just people that searched it.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Interesting.
And so your title's important.
Yes.
That's insert. Anyway,
good note.
Your title's important, and if it shows up with other things, blindfolds was not a good title choice, but we didn't know what else to call it. So the reality is with short films, if you can look at it more as a commercial, you're going to be more successful in A, having a distribution platform, B, figuring out a investor to invest in it. Because if you can pitch it to someone as, hey, I'm promoting your business through this film, you're going to have success that way. Same is true for documentaries. So like they've commonly been called the Masterpiece Collection.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. Everybody knows when I say the Masterpiece Collection, the reason why it's called Masterpiece is because there's a Masterpiece Trust that was built by Vikings. And Vikings is a tour group that tours people through history. And so they're funding all that stuff.
Wow.
And it's a promo for them.
Okay.
Wow.
So it's through no one would watch that stuff if it wasn't for the fact that there was already a distribution outlet, aka Vikings, Vikings touring group. I worked with the stunt coordinator from Vikings. It was kind of cool.
That's cool.
But the whole concept of knowing who your audience is, right?
Yeah.
We talk about that's talked about all the time. Feature film, a narrative feature has an audience. That audience fits into, transactional video on demand, fits into theaters, fits into DVD sales. TV shows don't work that way. TV shows are digital at this point.
Right.
You can also hop onto a network like DirecTV or someone like that can pick that up.
Yeah.
Documentaries, right, are a struggle to distribute because, well, can I actually show it in theaters? Well, yes, you can. But is it actually worthwhile showing it in theaters?
Right.
Maybe yes, maybe no. So you have to build a structure for advertising. You have to build a structure for what this is going to be. Understanding your audience, knowing where they're going to watch it, and actually structuring not the audience that you want necessarily, but what is the audience for the film?
Interesting.
Because even movies like narrative features, right, that are done on a low budget, we want it to be a theatrical.
Right.
Big time theater, 1,000 theaters. Well, you have to kind of admit to yourself that that's probably not going to happen if you shot it for under $1 million. Like you're not going to get into 1,000 theaters. It's just not going to happen.
Yeah.
And so if we have this concept of understanding, okay, I know I'm going to be in about 100 theaters if I do a theatrical, national theatrical, because I did the film for $50,000 or whatever it is.
Yeah.
Then we can start understanding, okay, my audience needs to be specialized to a specific location. So let's say I love period pieces. So medieval films, Civil War, whatever it is. Medieval films. Well, is there some sort of major medieval festival that we can launch at and focus our theatrical distribution to that point?
Yeah.
It's not that it's not a national release, but I'm focusing it to one area.
Yeah.
I'm targeting.
Yeah.
So targeted marketing, but targeted distribution is key in understanding your audience, because in a framework, right, like short films, what's my targeted audience? Well, if I'm writing a poem, right, and then I want to make a film out of it, I actually have this option. I'm thinking about it, right? I'm trying to figure out a distribution outlet. Well, this poem talks about putting your past behind you and moving towards what is ahead. That kind of conceptual, understanding how to work through your past to be able to live the present in a better way.
That's cool.
Cool story concept, but if I tried to pitch it on a feature film, like, it would never work. But if I were to, for instance, foundation that helps PTSD victims, that might work great as literally an ad for their company. Does it need to be anything special? No, it's just a logo at the end. Publix does this all the time with their stuff. You watch a Publix commercial. It's literally a short film with a logo at the end.
Yep.
Wow.
So understanding how to use your creative vision, this beautiful story, and actually create not only a funding source for it, but also a distribution outlet before you're even discussing that. That's how it needs to happen for your project to be successful.
And that kind of goes back to like the point we were talking about earlier, like, the best commercials are just good stories. Like, I don't know, those are the things that like people remember, and people are much more forgiving of being sold something if they are also getting a story and getting, entertainment or something that is thought-provoking or, whatever it may be. So, they're getting, can kind of kill two birds with one stone.
And I mean, the whole like Geico, it's like they're telling you a little mini story, but it's like it's a funny thing and it's a recurring thing. So like they've done their marketing well. So it's like you always know you can count on this particular ad, this company, to give you something that you want to value, and like you can go and YouTube it later and be like, this is still amazing.
I mean, that's why Super Bowl commercials are successful. Because what do you expect from a Super Bowl commercial?
Good commercials.
Good story.
Cool stories.
Yeah.
Like fun. It's different than the norm. It's not just an ad for, whatever. And
Doritos.
Super Bowl commercial. Yeah. Super Bowl commercials have literally transformed what we see as commercials.
Yeah.
Because think about it, before, when did Super Bowl commercials become a thing? They were, I forget whether it was 2008 or 2009, Super Bowl commercials actually became like a competitive thing.
Yeah.
Oh, it was
like
that
crazy
that,
expensive.
recent?
Yeah.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, it's pretty recent.
Wow.
That it kind of exploded. And so then it's just trickled into the whole commercial world. Like everything has to be this way.
Yeah.
Because if it's not, you're not going to be as cool as whatever.
Yeah,
So.
but then you get into the syndrome, where if everything's super, nothing is. And so it's like if all your commercials are pieces of art, they still become commercials.
But like, the thing is that like, I don't know, there's still so much that's made that's like soulless, for a lack of a better term. Like there still are so many bad commercials that are being made that like if we as filmmakers make good commercials, we're still gonna stand out. Like
sometimes I've seen like, at work or whatever, like when they have TVs or work, I'll just be like watching commercials. I'm like, who just spent money to waste on this piece of junk? I'm like, who actually worked on this thing and why is it out there for everyone to see? Oh man, I'm disappointed with the industry sometimes.
The reality of the matter is people never get tired of a good story.
Yeah.
And so if you're telling a good story, you'll always stand out. And if you use proper story arcs, you're going to stand out. You're going to be different. And that's really the key that you start seeing with so much of the commercial world is you see the really bad story arcs. And you're like, wow, this is horrible. Or you see the ones where they didn't realize they needed a story arc.
It's too late.
Because everything's a story.
Yeah.
Everything you write is a story. Everything you edit is a story. Everything that you tell is a story. Even if it's a basic piece of information. That's the struggle with college, right? You go in and you listen to a lecture and people are horrible storytellers.
Yeah.
And so they're just spouting out information and not actually telling you the narrative of what they want you to learn and understand.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess, yes, what we understand as being a struggle in the industry is really just a struggle with bad storytelling
Mm-hmm.
and a lack of understanding of story arc, and not really, well, and really a lack of understanding of the value of what they're doing.
Yeah.
People don't understand that, hey, I'm not like, somebody was telling me this about shooting, like DPing stuff, that when you're shooting a project, you have to understand that you are dictating what people are seeing.
Yeah.
You're telling a visual story.
Mm-hmm.
And if you view it that way, you will start directing the audience to what they should be seeing in the frame. That's what you should be doing.
Mm-hmm.
Not just allowing people to control the frame. Which is why if you watch a really professional DP, they're going to be like, hey, no, actor, you can't go that way. We have to reshoot this because I didn't follow them. And if that's where they're going, there needs to be motivation for that. If there isn't, if you're not directing the frame as a DP, you're just being a videographer.
Yeah.
You're recording people.
I just saw something about this from a friend of mine who's a DP, and he like shared this. I think we're thinking of the same person.
Yes.
Nice.
Yes.
Dave Wilwaco?
Shots at Dave.
Shots at Dave, because we literally had him on the podcast, and it was such a cool thing that he brought up, because it's like, if you're just capturing whatever, then you're a videographer, but if you're like storytelling, you're a director of photography.
I think that's the cool thing is like everyone that we talk to, it always comes back to story. And like even, you know, when you're producing, like everything that we're doing as filmmakers is storytelling. You know, even if you're doing something that might seem highly technical, it's storytelling and it's connecting with the audience. And at the end of the day, that's what we're all trying to do. So
I was also going to kudos to Dan Parsons.
Oh, Dan,
because he taught me a lot of that stuff. Of just understanding, watching him DP. He just would go and he'd be like, no, we can't use that. And I'm like, that was a great scene. And he's like, yeah, but I didn't move.
Interesting.
I was first ACing for him. I do lots of things on set. But anyway.
Nice.
So I was first ACing for him. And one of the things that he was talking about, he's like, move the focus with the motivation of the scene. If you ever get to first AC with a really amazing DP, they'll tell you stuff like that. And then you never get to see a movie the same way again because you see a focus shift and you're like, why?
When it becomes standing out, it's like, oh, they just pulled focus. Then it's like, well, you've been pulled out of the story because of something technical.
And or for a specific reason, you're pulling focus to this person. Why are we jumping here?
That's true.
Is it for comedic effect?
Because of
is it for all these things? There are reasons to do it and for people to notice the focus shift.
That's true.
But you have to understand that, you know, as well, Dan Parsons says this all the time. You have to understand that you're the other actor in the room. As the DP. Dave probably said that too.
He probably did, but Dan would say that,
yeah, it's very much so a Dan thing. And then I tell him that I'm like, yeah, well, I'm the actor that's sitting there making sure everybody sees your movement and it's in focus. I reminded that a few times. I will say, as a producer, probably the biggest thing that producers can learn from is doing other roles on set. So being on set doing lots of different things, because then they understand what the whole crew is going through, and so they can better understand the filmmaking process.
Absolutely.
I think it's cool because I mean that's kind of like if you think about film as in like a business, like say, you know, Chick-fil-A.
Shocker.
You say you think of it as a business.
You can make money?
Oh my goodness.
Films?
Well, you know, we'll get there eventually.
I wish
but
someone
like you
would have
start
told me
at the
this.
bottom You start taking off the trash. You start washing the dishes. You be a line cook. You be a server. You be a cashier. And then you understand what actually makes your business run. And so when you get up to general manager, franchise owner, you actually understand the whole process, and you're actually able to like be more personable to your employees. They can come up to you and you have a sense of ease about things. You're not just this god of the restaurant or whatever, and everyone bow down because you're the franchise owner.
You don't make unreasonable requests.
Yeah, and also, and then
you probably still make unreasonable
maybe.
requests.
Yeah, probably.
But if you do, it's unreasonable.
Yeah, you do. It'd be like, this is gonna be horrible, but you're gonna do this. You're gonna wear these shirts, even though you look terrible in that color. Oh, I hate
because
those shirts.
you look
but
terrible
anyways,
in that color. Anyway,
I had
become
to wear
very
those shirts,
vengeful.
so you have to wear those shirts.
Exactly.
It can be dictatorship, but so like the team mentality. So that's very, very cool. And I was talking last podcast episode about that team where each department has ownership in the project. And like you were saying, and Rebecca was saying, even the most technical detail, somebody doing the most technical job, they're telling the story, and they're all part of telling that story. And I mean, it was very cool how you were talking about like the scriptwriter and then the producer and then the director, how each person gives over their vision and lets the next person take ownership and creative ability and, their craftsmanship and their knowledge base and their funding or, whatever they're able to give to the story, all the things. And so then they're able to actually build something for themselves and for the end product. And it just helps everyone feel good about what they do. And it's not just, I don't know, I'm just here because I get paid. Which, I mean, it's really, a lot of the industry is, the grips are like, well, I just get paid. I don't know what this film's about. I just do my job.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, there's credence to that. I mean, it is a career path. You got to support your family. But it is cool when you're able to come in a more creative mindfulness.
And there's something about it too, like you can often tell how enthusiastic the crew was about a film by watching the film, because and that's not to say that like something that was put together with less enthusiasm, that doesn't necessarily like decrease its value in the sense of like entertainment or whatever. Like, I watch a lot of cheesy TV shows and like really enjoy them, so like I'm whatever, like you can still enjoy that, even though someone might have not been the most excited about working on whatever. I don't want to throw a specific show under the bus, but just like some TV show or something. But like, I don't know, but you can tell with certain movies where it's like, okay, at least, most of the people that worked on this, there's just something about it. Like you can just sense the passion and the craftsmanship and like, so there's something special about that from an audience perspective of just being able to be like, man, the people making this enjoyed making it. I enjoyed watching it.
Yeah.
I don't know, just feel good about it.
I think it's funny. Most of the people that talk to me and hear about funding, distribution, or just my producing journey at all, they tell me, they're like, Micah, the reason why I would hire you on my film is not because you're the greatest producer of all time. And I was like, okay, that's like backhanded compliment, I guess.
Sure.
I'm like, okay. And they're like, well, it's because you know what not to do. And I'm like, well, that's interesting.
Yeah.
I'm like, that's probably due to the fact that I've made all those mistakes.
Right. Yeah,
and
absolutely.
so I know that doesn't work because I, had to eat that, crow at some point. So, and I think that's a major part of the pursuit of mastery and craft, right? We see mastery and craft and we're like, well, we love this, but time and process, it is the key to mastery. We don't learn something in an instant.
Can you say that one more time? I feel like we need this in our souls.
So it has taken me many, many years, and I say that when I first started, I was 12 years old, and it's been 12 years. Yes, I just shot my age.
Nice.
So it's 24, right? And so I'm super young when it comes to filmmaking because people walk in and they're just like, wow, you are young. I'm usually the youngest person on set, which is really weird.
Wow, that is weird.
I'm usually the youngest person on set.
Wow.
As far as, at least if you get into the pool for directors, producers, I'm super young.
Yeah.
But that being said, it doesn't necessarily discount where you've started from.
Yeah.
I've still been doing it for 12 years, which means I made 12 years worth of mistakes.
Yeah.
And so there's this understanding of like, well, age is a thing. And as you get older, you start to realize, wow, I was really stupid.
Yeah.
And when
I'm
you get to
wondering when that's going to stop happening.
Oh.
Yeah.
It won't.
It won't. Well, yeah.
No, but I mean, I talk to 80-year-old people and they're like, wow, I was really stupid.
Yeah.
At 70.
Yeah.
Great.
I've matured.
Looking forward to that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's cool that you've started so young, but you're getting your 10,000 hours in before most of us even start our careers, which is, I mean, that's true for me. Like I wasn't even interested or thinking about a career in filmmaking till middle of college. So yeah, you're ahead.
That
you're
probably
ahead.
That probably affects who I am. Nerd anyway.
But I mean, it's gonna help because you've had 12 years ahead of where we are, making mistakes and growing your knowledge and your experience. And when you're 35, you're going to be so much further ahead, and we're going to be coming to you for so much more wisdom. You're going to be like, can we just...
Podcast is still going to be going. We're going to interview you again.
10-year anniversary. Yes, we're gonna interview Micah Gerber, Oscar-winning, whatever.
Yeah.
I don't know about that.
I don't know about that. Maybe we won't be broke at the Oscars by 10 years. Who knows?
Maybe we'll have an Oscar in 10 years.
Maybe we will.
That's the new goal.
Goodness.
New goal. We're gonna have you back in 10 years. We're gonna have an Oscar on the table right here.
That's the only reason why we want an Oscar. It's so
just for the meme. I don't care about the acclaim or the recognition. Just do it for the meme.
Again.
Producers don't even get to go up to it.
That's
stupid.
The
funny thing.
Oh my goodness.
It's also funny. So the people who do oftentimes, if you do funding consulting on a movie or you do distribution consulting, you don't actually get credited in the movie.
Huh. You should start a union strike, I think, is what you should do.
So that's why a lot of people a lot of people who are called associate producers actually just gave advice like that.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, that makes sense.
It's associate producer literally can mean anything.
Yeah, sometimes I've wondered about that. There's so many different types of producers, so many different credits, and it's like, I don't know. I know there are a lot of specific jobs within producing, but sometimes it's like, you guys are just making these up. What is this?
I knew of an associate producer, but they were that because I think they added funding and they introduced the film to an investor. So it's like you can do stuff like just bridging gaps and making bridges, and you didn't even really do that much, but you get the credit. Yeah, because they ask for the credit in order for you to get what's at the other side of the bridge.
Well, and executive producers oftentimes get that because they were the ones who funded it, so they feel that they have some say over what the film looks like, and that is completely reasonable because they're part of your team too.
Yeah.
So I think that would be, in regards to your relationship with your investors, make sure that they trust you as a filmmaker, but then make sure that you trust them, because if they're going to be executive producer credit and they're going to want to have involvement in your project, which I feel like if they're giving, they want some return. They want to be involved. Like you said, they want the value, or what was the word you used? They want...
I don't know. I used a lot of words.
Anyway, they wanted... anyway, but you want to make sure that there's trust on both sides. That you both feel like you have something to give and value to add.
Yeah.
Well, and I mean, that's true too. A producer role on a film, producer and director, well, director of photography kind of fits this, but really producer and director are the two roles that if you're not 100% behind that movie, don't take on those roles.
That's interesting. Yeah.
Because you can DP a movie without appreciating or enjoying the vision. Some would disagree with that, but like for the most part, you could do it. I'm not saying you could do it well, but you could. But really, to be able to direct at all, to appropriately direct a movie, you have got to understand and live that creative vision. A producer needs that too.
And I mean, you're going to be living it for a while, so you better like what you're doing.
Well, and that was a struggle. Somebody asked me to produce their movie, literally produce a feature, and I told them no. Eventually, because I read the script and I was like, I can't get behind the story.
Yeah.
I don't think that it correctly deals with the issue. I don't think that it works. So if I can't get behind this, it doesn't matter whether I have tremendous ethics or whether I am the best producer on the face of the planet or whether I'm the perfect producer for this production. I'm not the perfect producer because I can't cast a vision that I can't get.
Right.
Yeah.
If I don't have access to that vision, I can't produce that vision for others.
Yeah.
Which means the director can't appreciate it, investors can't appreciate it, and the crew will never see it.
It's really good. I'm like wondering all the films that are made in Hollywood where it's literally a monetary exchange. It's not a passion project in any regard, and that's very sad. But I mean, this is a business where people literally you're just selling things.
Yeah.
The struggle with independent movies is that we very, very, very rarely look at it as a business.
Yeah. And we can't compete in that regard. We might have the most artistic and beautiful thing, but we don't have the Ford manufacturing plant in order to chuck it out to the public.
I thought you were going to reference Ford versus Ferrari as like a callback.
I was thinking about it, but like it was like the Ford, what's it called? The
assembly line?
The assembly line. Yeah, that's what, sorry. Revolutionizing American industry.
It was a great callback. I just wasn't sure how to.
No, it wasn't technically a callback, but it was sort of. Anyways.
I thought you got a callback the other day.
No, I had an audition.
Okay.
Oh, that's a very different thing.
Oh boy. Well, we probably should start wrapping it up, but I mean...
He was literally about to say something, and we've been interrupting his brain this whole time.
Oh, man.
No. I didn't... I'm not sure what I was going to say if I was going to say.
Okay.
It probably wasn't that valuable, or it was just something that, you know what? Talk to me in person sometime, and I'll probably say a whole new list of things.
Bonus features.
Most people that talk to me realize that they get this much, and then as they talk more with me, they're like, wow, you didn't talk about that last time. That would have been helpful last time. I was like, sorry.
Oh, man.
Sorry. I didn't think about it
You
last
just
time.
didn't ask the right question, right?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I like almost kind of feel that way just after, like, you shared so much wisdom with us this whole time, but like
more.
I feel like there's just, man, because I mean, you know, what you're doing is so important in films. Like, it's important to have a plan and to make money off of, you know, your movie, or at least be able to pay back your investors. And so there's a lot that goes into that. So I appreciate you sharing everything with us, and everyone who's listening or watching, go follow Micah, go learn more from his wisdom.
Yeah, we're gonna share his Instagram and Facebook
where can people find you and your work, Micah?
Probably the easiest way. I tend to lean towards Facebook.
Okay.
However, if you're a random person, you haven't had like lunch with me, and I don't accept your friend request, it's not a shot at you. Send me a message. I'm all about meeting, talking, having a conference call, whatever that is, that's going to mean more to me than a follow or a friend request. Or my goal isn't to build an audience. My goal, for me, my goal is to build a structure of relationships. So build a relationship with me. If you want to continue learning, build a relationship. That's key in any case. Whatever role you're in film, building a relationship is key.
That's a very producer
peers.
answer. It's really great.
Well, thanks.
Yes.
He's cultivated that.
Yes.
This was a very discovering role of like, wow, Micah, you really fit in this, because all the things you say are very producerly.
Yeah. That's great.
You're not really a very good DP, Micah. It's fine. You're not a very good...
Oh no. Oh no.
This was...
But what
like
a
I
soft
said,
landing. I mean...
all those hard knocks, they were just like, okay, so you're not very good at doing the actual job of like shooting a movie, you know, handing people water bottles. You're not very good at that. But guess what? What you are good at is telling people what to do.
Hey,
and I'm
there
like,
you go.
oh, that's
awesome.
lovely.
Film sets need that.
I mean,
that's critical.
Of any credit that you could have, like, oh, instead of, they're not like, you're not good at gaffing, you should be crafty. you didn't have that. You had, like, you should be literally the first name on the credit list,
Yeah.
So I'm not feeling real sorry for you.
Oh boy.
Not really. I mean, it is kind of disappointing when...
Yeah. It was funny though.
Yeah.
When people tell me that, like, we just wanted you on set. It's not because you're actually good at the role. We just like having you on set. And I was like,
oh, that's...
Thank you.
Oh, and that's not... I feel like that's...
I get a lot of backhanded compliments, so let's put it that way.
That's really awful.
I don't know. I take them as positive things.
Remind me to give you a front-handed compliment one day. Micah, you're a great producer.
You guys did. You guys asked me to be on a podcast.
Oh,
so.
Yeah.
That is true. Yeah,
Aww.
and we appreciate you being here. And like I said, man, just everything that you said, I feel like was so valuable. So this has been really great, and I appreciate you like taking time to be here and share your years of wisdom with us and everything. And it's been really great.
I'm coming away like it's always a good feeling when you come away from a conversation and you're like, I want to make more work. I want to do more things and do it well. And so I'm glad
I communicated that.
It's really encouraging when you come away. You're not discouraged by all the work you have to do, but you're encouraged that there's more you can accomplish.
Yeah, and there's a good way to do things, and now we know how to do it.
I'm already thinking about like what I've done wrong or whatever. It's like, gotta do that the next time.
Now you know what to do for wedding cake when that's done.
Now you know what I live with daily.
Oh no.
Think about the distribution though.
Oh man.
Think about those SVODs and AVODs and TVODs.
Okay, well,
man,
before we spiral too far.
Cars 2 toys.
Okay.
That's our wrap.
Yeah, maybe we should sign off before this spirals and gets depressing. It's been a good time though. It's been a good time. But
not depressing.
It has been.
It's been really great. And to everyone who's listened and watched, thank you for listening and watching.
Thank you.
And until next time,
we'll see you on set.
See you on set.